Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett, and today I'm going to get into a video on what you should know about Krack and Reaper. So as far as that goes, most of you might not know what Reaper is, but as far as Krack, what is it for those of you who don't know? Well, to simply put it, Krack is both of them are hacking techniques. Krack is a wireless hacking technique, so if you're wired, don't worry about it. But it requires someone to physically be on site, so they cannot be remotely or whatever. And then on top of that, it takes a few minutes to do the attack and whatever. But the fact of the matter is what should you do to protect yourself? Because all wireless networks are vulnerable. All virus networks that have been patched, and also all computers are basically vulnerable that have been patched. So that's something to note into itself. Now, again, it's a wireless attack. If you wired your stuff, and as long as there's not a wireless thing on your network, then you're good to go. But what you need to do is basically make sure your Windows computer is patched, because there is a security patch to fix this for your computer itself. Make sure your Android or whatever device is patched. And then with your router itself, make sure that is patched. Now, one thing I want to mention there is if it doesn't get patched by New Year's, you might want to take a look at buying a new one. I've talked to Google. They haven't got a patch out yet for the Google Wi-Fi, but I talked to them and they said they're working on it, so let's give them a chance. But with that one in mind, there's been a lot of smaller companies that's actually patched their crap already. And if a company doesn't patch it within a month or two's time, when I'm saying 2 months of this, then that company does not care about security, no matter how much they want to preach about it. So that's something that you got to note, especially when you get into something like wireless routers. So with that one in mind, who should worry about it? Businesses should worry about it. People in apartment buildings should worry about it. Basically, anyone who cannot control who gets near their network. So if you're in an apartment building, you're not going to be able to control people who's next door or who's out in the parking garage if your wireless goes that far. So if you're a Starbucks or something like that, you can't control that. So or if you're near a Starbucks, you can't control that. So basically, you got to worry about that there. But other than that, you really shouldn't have to worry much about it. That's why I'm saying 2 months, because most people, I don't think they're in those areas, and for the most part, it takes a little bit of time, and anyone who's breached a network knows that there's a lot of useless traffic, so there's going to be a lot of data that goes through, and it's just completely useless. So with that one in mind, let's get into Reaper. Reaper is simply this. Reaper is a attack against anything that's connected to online. So 60% of the companies in the United States are estimated to be breached and to be infected with Reaper. Reaper is right now, it's not a threat to internal systems, but it can become one. And what's happening right now is Reaper is attacking some stuff externally, and it's grown massively. There's some question if it's state level or not state level, because it's grown that massive. And we're talking about 6% of companies inside the United States alone, not let alone something like India or something like in Europe or Russia or whatever. So that's something to note into itself. There was an attack last year around this time where the internet shut down for a huge section of the world. And in fact, the matter is this could cause something much, much, much worse, because you can have all the devices doing a denial of service on a DNS for a long period of time, and that will shut down the internet for a very long period of time, slow down traffic, even when it comes back up, and it will cause problems into itself. This is something that you need to note. And then if it decides to attack internally, then you got some other problems. So if you look up Reaper, you're going to see it's an IoT type of thing, Internet of Things. That's not the case at all. It's things that are connected to the internet. Journalists are just stupid. Basically, if the device has not been patched, And this is what's caused 60% of companies to be estimated in this infection. Is basically you got the devices that's like computers and other things that simply have not been patched. You got hospitals still today in the United States that are running XP, Windows XP, and the service has stopped on that. Microsoft even said, we're not patching it anymore. You need to move now. And the hospitals are refusing, and that's where some of the ransomware attacks coming in, by the way. School systems, you got police stations, there was a evidence room at multiple places actually that was infected with ransomware because they were on XP. Well, the thing is this is using the known exploits in all those systems, routers, computers, smart TVs, and whatever it may be, as long as it's connected to the internet. If it's not being patched, then you got problems. It's not even trying to find new problems. It's trying to use existing known problems. And if you don't patch your crap, well, it causes problems. Now, note with this. You might be taking a look at your server administrator and asking why hasn't your stuff been patched. If you're still in XP, fire that SOB. The fact of the matter is that person needs to be gone. But if they're using something like Windows 10, Windows 8, something more modern, or whatever operating system, and if they don't patch things right away, note that they have to test to make sure if it's going to bring down the system, if it's going to keep you from doing your job. That's where those delays come in play. But for your personal computers and stuff like that, I really wouldn't put much of a delay unless you got a very good reason to. So, for example, if you're doing some scientific experiment or something like that on your own time. So with that one in mind, that's something to note. Again, the people who need to really worry about that is anyone who has something connected to the internet. So if you watch this, then there you go. And big thing to note is this can even affect Android and iOS devices. So if your phone is not or tablet's not being updated, then you might be infected. So that's something to note. So with that one in mind, that's pretty much what you need to keep in mind when dealing with these two hacking techniques.